Good evening. Welcome to the Sterling Masterclass online series again. Oops. I don't know what happened. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see me now. Welcome. We have three wonderful violas to play for you tonight, and our incredible clinician, Derek Reeves, principal of the, I always think it's not Fort Worth. It's, damn it. Sorry.
Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne Philharmonic. I knew I would do that. He's a very good old friend of mine as well. We have three great violas to play for you tonight. And without further ado, we will start with our first player, Juliana Castillo.
Thank you, Rachel. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I am very much looking forward to hearing these fine three young violists. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Juliana, and I'll be playing the first two movements of Hindemith Sonata number 25, Opus 25, number 1.
Fantastic, Juliana. Right? Yes, Juliana. Beautiful playing. Beautiful playing. Let's go back to the first movement. So if you're watching, the first movement kind of segues into the second movement. So it sounds like it's one movement, but it's actually two. Juliana, when you see inharmonic equivalents like B flat and A sharp, for example, do you think of them as the same note, or do you think of them as slightly different?
I think they're slightly different.
Okay, good. I was hoping you'd say that. So, so interesting thing about tritones is that there's so much tension, musical tension in that chord, you know, and there's always, in a tritone, there's always one note that pulls up and one note that pulls down, right? And so the opening chord, so we're having, it's like a dominant seventh chord, right? Like a D dominant seventh chord, where the F sharp is functioning as a leading tone. Is it possible to get a little bit more space between so the F sharp pulls a little bit higher up, and the C natural feels a little bit lower, and then with the so that the E flat doesn't sound like a D sharp, the B flat doesn't sound like an A sharp on the fifth. Yes, to me that's feels a little bit more resonant. Can you try that, and let's see how much different we can make these two characters, right? So the first two measures, we have this very impetuous and sharp sort of character, and then the third and fourth measures, something completely different. How much different can you make the character of the third and fourth measures? Yes, please continue. Okay, good. Great. So going back to that idea of the interpretation of accidentals, are you familiar with the idea that we have different widths of half steps? Like there are narrow half steps and wide half steps.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we have the So the idea is like from G sharp to G natural, wide half step. From E sharp to E natural, wide. Whenever we have two notes where the note name is the same and they're differentiated by an accidental, we can make more space there. So for example, so from D to C sharp, closer. does is that it helps us create greater difference between between chromatic intervals. And there's so much, I think that's very useful in the music of Hindemith, because there is so much chromaticism. Does that make sense? Can you experiment with that, with the with all these half steps where it's going from two notes of the same name, like G sharp to G natural, E sharp to E natural? I think you can experiment with a slightly wider half step, while the half steps that have different note names, D to C sharp, B flat to A, those can be very close. Yes. How does that feel? You feel? I realize that it's a lot of stuff to try kind of on the fly, but I think it makes it adds a dimension of clarity that I wasn't quite getting before. Would you mind starting from the beginning with the this character? With at least that part, maybe a little bit more impetuous. A little, it can push a little bit more. I think since there is no accompaniment on this, you can have a little bit more variation in the tempo. I think you can experiment a little bit more. There can be a little bit more push and pull. Please continue. It sounds wonderful. Yes, beautiful. There's one spot that we just, okay, two things. So it'd be wonderful if that can be more of a surprise, just because number one, of the direction that the chord is arpeggiated. Number two, he asks for with the forte piano. I think that it's particularly jarring there. If that can be more of a musical surprise, I think it will be even more effective. And then there's one place. Let's see, where was it? Oh, goodness. Yeah, it'll come to me. Can you maybe start from the second line? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, measure 6, please. There we go. So much of this, the music is like juxtaposition of certain intervals, right? We've got fourth, major third, fourth. So these juxtapositions of the perfect fourth with the major third. And I think one of the sort of deconstructionist tendencies of this music is taking intervals out of their sort of traditional classical context and examining them sort of independently of what traditional concepts of consonant or dissonant, right? So there's this idea of the interval as its own sonic entity, and so I think, and not to beat a dead horse, but I think that the major thirds can be a little bit more major. I think you can find more space between the let's see. So, you know, we should really be able to sense a natural harmonic with our major thirds. So I think all of those major thirds can actually be a little wider. It's a subtle thing, but you know, a lot of subtle things may add up to making a big difference. Would you try that? Try that spot one more time, starting at the same place, and see if you can't find a little bit more space in those major thirds. How does that sound and feel to you?
I don't know if it's just because now I'm doing it slower so I can hear the intonation better, but it definitely sounds a lot more resonant. So
I totally agree. I was hearing all kinds of harmonics from your instrument when you started playing this way. So yeah, bravo. Would you try once more, sort of in a performance? And I realize that none of these changes will be like immediately and made completely immediately, but one more time in performance mode, and let's go on.
okay.
Great. So speaking of harmonics, and also going back to that idea of kind of adjusting half steps when it's appropriate, from the second to the bottom line, can you just play so? And stop on that second that E natural, that second eighth note of the second measure. Okay, good. Now release that note to a natural harmonic.
So, oh.
Now compare the pitch of the harmonic to the note that you just played.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow,
Yes.
yeah, it was really flat.
Well, it was, which is strange because a lot of times we think of the harmonics as being flat, but I think that especially with unaccompanied pieces, if we use natural harmonics as a guide, it leads to much richer intonation. So keep that in mind, and then experiment with the E flat, the following eighth note, and see how much space you can really find there between those two notes. That makes a huge difference. And it's also a really cool transition between the E natural of the previous chord, right? It makes the voice leading, I think, that much more apparent. Yeah?
Do you want me to go on from there?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry to stop you. Just so going back to that idea of the tritone in that dominant seventh chord. I mean, even though it's not really functioning as a dominant seventh chord, but the idea of the F sharp being on the high side, I think speaks to that idea that we've been kind of that's been sort of a recurring theme, where I think if you think of the as a wider half step between F natural and F sharp, I think that will give you a more resonant chord. So I think the F sharp can actually be a little bit closer to the G in general. Let's try that one more time from the last two lines and then go on to the second movement.
Okay. So there's a little bit more space between the E and the F, and then less space between the F sharp and the G.
So yes, the E close to the F, right? The F on the low side, the F sharp closer to the G.
Okay. Okay, so basically more space between the F and the F sharp.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so there are a couple of places in this movement, in the first half of this movement, where we can either have a sense of rejuvenating, reinvigorating the tempo, or kind of losing the tempo. And I felt like one of the things that musicians almost universally struggle with is getting slower on diminuendos, right? Like the diminuendo on the third line, the last, the very last measure of the third line. Can that get softer without getting slower?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And then I think that you can tweak these tritones a little bit more, so that for example, I think if you can feel like the B flat's a little lower, the E natural is a little bit higher. Do you know how major? Have you ever thought about how tritones fit into the major scale?
Isn't it between? Wait. I have thought about this, but it was a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. So it's the fourth and seventh scale degrees, right, of the major scale. So for example, so this chord, C B flat E, would be a dominant seventh in the key of F major, right? And E would be the leading tone, and B flat would be the subdominant, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're playing pieces in sort of a normal tonality, the tritones sound more in tune if you tweak those. Like when you're playing a major scale, if you play the subdominant a little on the low side and play the leading tone a little on the high side, it ends up sounding more in tune, because essentially you're accentuating the tendencies of those notes, right? The leading tone pulls up, whereas the subdominant pulls down. So even in modern music, neoclassical music, I think those tendencies are even more important, right? So which is why I mentioned the F sharp and the C natural in the first movement. And so I think you can follow suit. I think you'll find that those chords are even more resonant if you can just tweak a little bit, try to feel like the B flat's a little bit lower, E natural a little bit higher, because it's such a there's so much tension in that chord anyway. The more we can tweak that tritone, the more resonant it becomes, the more richer it becomes in harmonics. Mm-hmm. Well, why don't you try that? But going back to that idea. Let's see if the second and fourth bars of the phrase can have a little bit more forward energy, not so much relaxing, so that it's very even more. I don't want to use the word impetuous again. Even more agitato.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good, 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 good. I wanted to ask you, let's see, the last measure of the second line. I wanted to ask you about your fingering there.
Oh, what it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, oh yeah. I'm doing 1, 3, then 4, then 1, then 2, and then 1 and 3, then 4, and then extend back for 1, and then 2.
Okay. On the third beat, are you playing a B flat or are you playing a B natural?
It's a B. Oh, did I just play a B flat then? It's a B natural.
Yes.
Yes.
Could you just play those two measures a little under tempo, please?
Yeah, sure.
And then that measure again.
Go on from there, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. And so this is another example of where I think if you exaggerate the minor, make a bigger difference between minor and major. So, for example, the minor seventh here. Not only will that give you more space to play with between the B flat and the B natural, but the minor seventh, when you make that narrower, it fits more, it's more resonant within the harmonic series, within the overtone series. So if you let this harmonic be your guide for the C natural. And then a very, very low, think of a very low compressed B flat.
Okay. Wait, where's the?
So think first position, third finger on the C string.
Oh, right.
That sounds terrific.
Yeah.
Would you like to try it in context, maybe from the measure before?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I get the idea. It's not coming through right now. But...
That's okay. That's okay. We'll try it one more time and go on.
Sure.
Good, good, good. Sorry. Those last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So where the piano is, then the crescendo, the following bar. Mm-hmm. Right. Let's make sure that let's try to not make a crescendo before it's written, but then definitely do a crescendo for the second bar after it's written. Okay. Right. So that you're really, really leading back into that forte. Good, good, good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love your playing. Can you try it playing even softer with the bow? Almost no pressure at all. Maybe even a little ponticello, but more articulation, more activity from the left hand. So almost nothing with the right hand, but more with the left. Crescendo. Fantastic, Juliana. It's really a pleasure hearing you play. Just one last parting thought. Can you just play those 3 7s? Minor 7th, minor 7th, minor 7th. I feel like that B natural is never quite high enough. I feel like you're like the B natural is a little on the low side, and so the minor 7th is not quite as resonant as it could be.
Okay.
Good. Now add the other notes, but keep the shape that you just created with those 3 7ths. Because I think because of this tritone here between the F natural. So I think the F natural should be low, but the B natural should be relatively high relative to the F natural.
Okay.
That's the idea. That's the idea. Juliana, thank you so much for playing. It's you play extremely well, and it's a pleasure hearing you.
Yeah, thanks for working with me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. Hi, Justine. This is Justine, right?
Yes,
hello. Excellent. And you're playing Hofmeister?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to hearing you. Begin whenever you're ready. Bravo, bravo. Very nice, very nice. Okay, what a fun piece this is. What a fun piece this is. It's always a little bit I don't want to say puzzling, but you know, there's so many notes that would be that should be really expressive, and it seems like the only way to play them is on the open A string. And of course, there's more than one way to play them in the open A string, but I think sometimes we need to get creative. It's not to say that the open A string can't be expressive, right? Because it can. But there are a couple of places where I would encourage you to consider perhaps other fingering options. But did you ever try? Let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. So. You ever try a four finger on? Let's try it. That sounds great. It sounds great. And by the way, speaking of fourth fingers, I noticed that a lot of time that when you have like a six with the second and third fingers, the fourth finger kind of does this thing. Try to see. I think that tends to happen because we're putting pressure on the fourth finger as if we're putting that finger down, when obviously we're not putting that finger anywhere. So just be on the lookout for that. Maybe you can try to keep it above the fingerboard. Now, what do you think of when you're playing this piece? Like, do you think of like being a character or like an opera singer, superhero?
I just kind of think of like an elegant ball almost, because it seems like a piece that's like for big dresses and ball gowns sort of thing.
I love that. I think that's great. Can you give us more of that? More of the drama, more of the pomp and elegance and the chiffon and the big hair and the makeup and the exaggerated dance steps and everything. And think about, so I guess what I'm saying is grander gestures, but particularly how you use the bow. Okay. So take do with that what you will, and then we'll talk about it in a moment. Okay, great. Now, so it's Justine here at the ball, and I am wearing all my finest dresses, or something like that. So if you're singing this phrase, there are definite moments where you want more musical energy, right? And what I'd like to see is a commensurate movement in the bow arm. For example, I think rather than doing, why don't you try? So that the moments of the most musical energy, like well, first of all, I think you can use more bow on the upbeat.
Okay.
And then the downbeat of the second measure. Then, so that there's more bow where you want more energy, and then less bow where the phrase is releasing. Right?
Okay.
That's great. I would encourage you to keep using that fourth finger because you got such a lovely tone. Sometimes the open A string can be a little bit jarring. Let's continue though. So same idea. And I yeah. So try that, and then just think about how you want to shape the phrase and exaggerate all of your musical instincts, because you're already playing it very musically, but you can do more of it.
Okay.
I'm sorry to stop you, Justine. That can you just play the very first the first two measures?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so do you practice harmonics ever?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I want you to find two natural harmonics for me. So where these two notes are, there are two natural harmonics. One where the A is, the D's, and then where the F sharp is. So see if you can find those two harmonics. Let me hear the F sharp again.
Ugh.
Good. Now I want you to see if you can play the double stop, and then release those two notes to harmonics.
Ugh.
That's the idea. So did you notice whether your third finger felt a little lower than maybe you were playing it a moment ago?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the reasons that I'm a fan of practicing harmonics is because it helps to train our muscle memory about where the most resonant points on the fingerboard are. And D major is one of the most resonant keys on the viola or really any string instrument. And so it's always good to get acquainted with those harmonics that are in the key, but also that are fundamental, no pun intended, to the overtone series. So just be careful that you don't get sharp on that minor sixth there. And it's also helpful to remember that since it's a minor sixth, it's kind of like a half step, right? You don't want the fingers to be too far apart. And I would recommend try breaking the chord closer to the balance point. Try breaking the chord below the balance point, and then break it very vigorously. But don't break it too high in the bow. Try to break it a little bit lower in the bow.
Okay.
That's the idea. You could. Now you can also, if you want to land with a little bit more energy, you can start closer to the bridge and then move out a little bit, because we have to be careful how much arm weight we're putting onto the string closer to the fingerboard.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I want to. I'll talk less. I want you to play more.
So would you like me to start from the beginning, or?
Would you please start from the beginning one more time?
Sorry.
You're fine. Good. So does that bowing feel comfortable to you? Measures like 43, 44, 45?
I mean, yes, considering I've played it for so long, but yeah.
Okay, all right, good. So you end on an up bow there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Let's go on. Okay, good. So yamba yada da 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 da. So there's a new harmonic energy, right? There's so this is D major, A major, then E major, E7. And so each chord, it's like its own energy field, right? So can you play that with a sense of new energy on each measure, on each chord? It's a new vibration, right? So D major, A major, E major, okay, and then the energy of the E7 chord continues all the way to that resolution of 51, okay? And so that idea of the energy, that's coming from the bow, right? So can you give us a sense of re-energizing the phrase on each of those measures?
Okay.
So think of it in the sense of like, say you're forte, mezzo forte. Then the second measure, think of it as being a little bit more. Then this one a little bit more. Does that make sense? You may not agree with it, and that's okay, but I'd like for you to just try it. See if you like it. Good, let's go on. Good. Just one general thing about trills. It's always good to exaggerate your trills, like your whole step trills. Try playing them a little sharp, okay? Play a little. Ironically, you want to play them a little bit out of tune so that they sound in tune, like. Okay, and otherwise, when you play them in tune, they sound out of tune. And that idea of exaggerating the gestures, I think there's some, you can do that more. Like all these appoggiaturas, and they're all over the place, where you have this sort of musical emphasis on the downbeat and then a release. I think you can give more on the musical arrival, and then deliberately do even less. The places where that tension releases.
Okay.
Can you just go one more time from the one more time from D major, please? Okay, so since you stopped, we have to be careful. Since you're arriving on an up, the musical arrival is here, right? Well, or the musical tension. We have to be careful not to accent the down bow, right? So if you want to do that bowing, that's fine. I would reverse it, but that's just me. So, but make sure that you're, regardless of which bowing that you do, make sure that you're not putting a false accent where you don't intend to do one.
Okay.
All right. So one more time, and then let's go on. Do you like that fingering?
Yes, I do. I just have to like. I feel like I'm just.
You know, second position is a hugely underrated position. Everybody avoids second position because they think that it's hard. But the fact of the matter is, second position can be a real lifesaver in passages like this. Let me show you. So, for example, see, no string crossing. Just a thought. I'm not going to insist that you do it, but maybe experiment with it in your
Okay.
in your or unless you like to try it.
Yeah. So
on that open D, after that you can shift to a second position and do a 4 2 3 1. 4 2 3 1 2 4 2 4. Then reach back for the 1.
okay. Okay. So. Sorry.
No, yes, stay. Okay. Yeah, stay in first position a little longer. Not that long though.
Sorry.
So it'd be on the fourth beat.
Okay. Okay.
Just a thought. Just a thought. Okay, in any case, let's go on. Good. So try it one more time and really exaggerate that trill. Play the C sharp higher than you know it is.
Okay.
You can just do that the last measure.
Okay.
Did it sound sharp to you? I mean, did it feel sharp?
Yes, it did.
It sounded perfect.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on.
Okay.
Same thing with that trill. So exaggerate it, play it wide. Yes. And one possible alternative. You could do kind of a flutter shift. kind of shift up to third position for the grace note.
Okay. That's nice. Okay.
Okay, good. Now let's take a look at this. Isn't that I think that's an A. Just a plain old triad. Just stay in third. You should be able to reach it just staying in third position. So you got a perfect fourth, and then a 10th, and then an octave plus a fifth. Yeah, that. Are you sure? Do you have a B natural on that second beat?
I have a. Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah, my teacher had a different part also. That was a issue we had when learning it.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's a wrong note. I think it should be an A and a D.
Okay.
It should be all within the key of all within the key of D major. No sixes or anything like that.
Okay. Were my parts different then? Okay.
Yes, I mean sometimes the
miscommunications.
yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Okay. Would you try this whole passage one more time, or where the double stops are?
Well, that's different now, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And and also, do you have the on the fourth beat? Is that what you've got, or do you have something different?
I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what you're asking.
Oh, so the measure. Do you have measure numbers like measure 60, 73?
Yes, that's what I have in my part.
Okay, so are you doing 4-2, 4-2? So like.
I'm doing 2 and 4 sliding up, but then I switch to the 1-3 and come down. Here.
Okay, I see. Okay, good. Let's see. Let's go on. Let's go on to the next page.
Okay.
That's the idea. And if you like, you can do that shifting to the third position again so that you can play the last note with vibrato. Bravo to you for doing those string crossings. Because string crossings that way are definitely not very comfortable. Have you ever, just out of curiosity, have you ever thought about doing those opposite? String crossings like that tend to be much easier if you reverse the direction of the string crossing.
I haven't tried that, but so that's
So try just slurring the first two notes and then doing the rest as it comes on an up bow. Yeah, and then to get to the next measure, you can slur the last two notes.
okay. Okay. Like that?
It's easier, and I think it's more fun too.
Okay.
You look like you're having more fun with it. and I think you can really can you really land on the C string there. So it's nice to, the other nice thing about it really helps you to connect the two strongest parts of the bow. I think you can get into the string a little bit more on the C string there if you like. Why don't you try it one more time and get into the string a little bit more on that E natural.
Sorry.
That's the idea. That's the idea. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the idea of making certain notes more expressive by altering the bow speed, right? Can you try the pickup into measure 85 with a sense of using a very slow bow speed with somewhat heavier pressure closer to the bridge? Yes, but really allow the weight of your arm to sink into the string, and yes, and don't be afraid to kind of bend the bow hair around the string, and don't be afraid to make the viola growl a little bit. That's the idea.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. Try that one more time. Relax your left thumb a little bit and see if that doesn't help your vibrato to relax a little bit more. That's good. Good. Can you just play it? Really let that first joint of the finger bend. Good. Now one more time. You know, sometimes the slower you vibrate, the more expressive it sounds. That's lovely. That's really nice. Can we go on to the next entrance?
Yes. Sorry.
Good, 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 good. So this is another example of a place where you can exaggerate your intentions with bow speed, but also pick out certain notes that you want to be more expressive, and see if by playing a slower bow speed, you can make them more expressive. So sometimes we can use faster bow speed to make bigger arrival points, and the slower bow speed to increase expression. For example, so, think slower bow speed on the high notes. And then musical arrival. Arrival. Okay, can we try that?
Okay.
I felt like that sang a lot more.
Okay.
Great, let's go on. Yeah, so let's do the same thing here. So so you're really kind of directing your audience's attention to where you think the musically important moments are.
Okay.
Great. Let's go on. That's the idea. That's very nice. Oh, there's one other space. We should probably wrap it up pretty soon, but I wanted to hear, can we skip ahead to K?
I don't have letters in mind.
So that's the, do you have measure numbers?
Yes, I do.
189-ish.
Okay. Got it.
Good. Okay, so did you ever let's see, what was the bowing that did you do 4-note slurs or
I'm doing 4-note slurs, and then for the sextuplets, I'm doing 3-note slurs.
Okay, good. Did you ever consider? Do you ever try using the fourth finger instead of so that we keep that moving line all on the same string?
It's very hard for me to reach the 4 in time.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I thought that might be the case. Are you familiar with the philosophy of basing the hand on the fourth finger? Or do you think of basing the hand more on the first finger?
I personally like basing it on the first finger.
Ha. Okay, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I would try just play that harmonic, fourth finger on the G string. Sorry, back in first position though. Good. Now, without losing that connection, the fourth finger with the string, try reaching back to the F sharp with the second finger. On the reaching back to the F sharp on the D string.
I'm sorry?
So reaching back with the second finger.
Like that?
So yeah. So what I just had you do was playing a third by basing the hand more on the upper finger than on the lower finger, because I think you're accustomed to playing double stops and thirds by basing the hand on the first finger and reaching forward with the weaker part of the hand, rather than favoring the weaker part of the hand and then reaching back with the stronger part of the hand.
Yes.
So for people with smaller hands, playing larger instruments like the viola, it actually is a good, and even for people with larger hands, because I do the same thing, and it's a bit of a paradigm shift at first. But if you think about basing your hand position more on the weaker fingers and then reaching back, I think you might find a lot of those double stops easier to negotiate.
Okay. So like. Okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
So then you have to reach back a little bit more with the first finger, but it's a stronger finger and it can handle it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So it's something to think about.
Okay.
All right, Justine, it's been great hearing you play. I really enjoyed it. All the best to you. Hopefully, you got something that you can take with you.
Definitely. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Hey, Nicolette.
Hey. I'll be playing the Allemande from the box number 4.
Wonderful. Is that an Itsuka?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love his work.
Thanks.
Very nice. Lovely. Beautifully played. So, Nicolette, do you like theory, music theory?
Yes.
You do? Awesome. Good. I'm glad to hear it. So what is an allemande?
An allemande is a German dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know a lot much more about it, but I think it's a dance that usually begins most suites, most dance suites.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a courtly dance, yeah. So you can imagine people sort of doing a very elegant, noble dance while this is being played, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it's important to keep that dance-like character, and there were a few sort of ritornellos that happened near cadences, some of which were very, very beautiful, but it definitely altered the pulse of the dance. And I was wondering if maybe we can examine a few of those, but also the idea of the sequence. What are sequences in Bach, and why are they important?
Sequences are when a phrase or pattern repeats itself,
Mm-hmm.
often and immediately afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's when a pattern repeats itself a couple times, oftentimes changing in pitch.
Yes, exactly, like at a different pitch level. Exactly. So there were a lot of sequences that I observed in the music that I didn't really catch the connection. I think you can make more of a connection, almost like when you're reciting a poem, how you knowingly recite the verses that rhyme, right? Like the sequences are like a kind of musical rhyme, I think. And so my first thought is that if we can avoid getting slower in the cadences, unless you feel super strongly about it, and then making a little bit more out of the cadence. So not the cadences, the sequences, so that the sequences relate to each other a little bit more. Can you try starting from the beginning and see how long you can make the phrase?
Sure.
Extending it with sequences, and the cadences, think of them more like punctuation within a paragraph rather than the end of a chapter. Mm-hmm. Or even the end of or rather even than the end of a paragraph. Okay, so that so it provides it lends itself to the architecture of the movement, but doesn't necessarily create a block in the flow, if that makes sense. That was lovely. That was lovely. I have one question for you, though. So, it seems like you were taking a little bit of time before that B flat dominant seventh chord. So do you see that as being two separate things, or I was just curious about that?
I think of it as a transition. So I don't want to like completely stop, but at the same time, I want to slow down and sort of bring out the change in harmonies and the change in phrasing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's me too.
So I sort of bring it out a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
track.
And so the other question is, and I think that's valid, and I appreciate that you gave it thought. But what about maybe doing that the second time, and or maybe more the second time, not so much the first time?
Sure, like second repeat or
Yeah, the second repeat.
got it. So like less, so just go straight through it.
And then play it again, and then maybe try it. Add your nuance the second time so that it's fresher to the listener's ears.
Sure.
Right. I meant so go back to the beginning, and then when you play it the second time, you could do that nuance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I play from the beginning or where?
I'd love to hear it again.
Sure.
Yeah, but before you do, I thought that this last time there was really you did a wonderful job of sustaining the line and bringing out the voices, and I felt like you really did all of those things that I was suggesting, and I felt like it painted a more complete musical picture. Did you have any thoughts? Did it feel less musical, or did it feel different, better, same?
It felt almost the same. I will be honest, I do have a tendency to, especially in unaccompanied music, to pause a lot or to take too much time, especially in Bach. And my special weakness is preludes. I tend to take a lot of time preludes. So it's a little bit of a tendency I'm working on sort of fixing. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, thank you for sharing that. For me personally, I felt that it had a very appealing flow this last time, and it made more sense to me musically. But so let's go back to the beginning, and this will be the second time through the first half, and then let's continue on to the second half.
okay.
Nice, very nice. So there are a few musical surprises in the second half, right? I think part of the magic of the music of Bach is the story that it tells harmonically. And so to my ear, the first surprise is the arrival of C minor, right? And then there's the cadence in G minor, and then the cadence in F minor. And in the C minor, that's beautiful the way that you're arpeggiating the chord, but I'm not hearing the third.
Oh, the third note of the chord.
The third of the chord, the E flat. Yeah, you could almost, if you like, you could arpeggiate it so that you're articulating two notes and then voice it over to the A string, so that we don't lose the E flat entirely. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
And then those two arrivals in G minor and F minor. Maybe consider our approach from the first half, where we don't comment so much on the cadence in terms of taking time, because in a sense, our first responsibility in playing the music of Bach is to present it as he wrote it. I mean, obviously our musical impressions and interpretations are important to an extent, but they're secondary importance, after, conveying the music that he wrote. So maybe the second time, give a little bit of the nuance in terms of the timing, but I would encourage you to play it a little bit, to play it. I don't want to say, not to say that it's metronomic or strictly in time, but think of the people that are dancing to your music. Okay, you don't want them to miss a step because we played with the tempo too much, right? Would you humor me and play the second half twice? So the first half is a little bit more, a little bit less liberty with the timing and the cadences, and then the second time you can add, maybe the second time add a little bit of your own personality.
Okay.
A little bit, I should say, a little bit more of your own personality.
Okay. More. Got it.
loved that.
Thank you.
I think it was really nice variety. And it was much. And I'm not just saying it because I asked you to do it, but I thought that it gave it a really nice variety from the listener standpoint. Could I ask you to try the last 3 measures? And then we have the, it sounds like that third measure from the end. I think you can afford to make those, if you so choose, I think you can afford to make those bass notes a little bit longer.
Sure.
Bum, bum, bum.
Sorry.
So can maybe a little bit, take what I said with a grain of salt, and by saying longer, I don't necessarily mean heavier.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Tried it again.
What if I were to say, give them a little bit more love?
Sure. Okay.
That's the idea. And maybe just the feeling of vibrato. You know what it is, Nicolette, and you play beautifully. But with these string crossings, I feel like you're trying to make the string crossing very quickly because of, you know, the fact that you're going from the C string to the D string. What if you have the sense of anticipating the string crossing with your right arm? So try and moving your arm towards the string that you're going to before you actually need the bow to be there, if that makes sense. Does that give you the feeling of a little bit more time?
Yeah.
It felt less rushed. Excellent. Wonderful playing, Nicolette. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Is Rachel there? Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I am. Oh, wonderful playing, everybody, and thank you so much for this beautiful class. It was so great to hear everybody, and great to hear your comments and the journey that everyone went on tonight. It's just, I love it. We do have a couple of questions. Well, one, how did you get started playing the viola, and what advice would you have for your younger self?
Wow, what a great question. I got started playing the viola as a sort of an extension of my musical curiosity. I growing up playing the violin, you know, I was one gets used to getting bigger violins when you grow a little bit, right? And then you get to a point where the violin stays the same size, and so my exploration of the viola was really just that. It was an exploration of not just the physicality of playing a larger instrument, but also a journey deeper into the music that I loved. Because I always love the inner workings of the harmony, you know, finding out what's going on in the inner voices, and how they relate to the bass line, how they relate to the melody. And, you know, in string quartets, I love playing second violin as much or more as first violin. And so I saw playing the viola as a way to get deeper inside the sound, so to speak. I think my advice to my younger self would have been to explore that sooner, and also to not necessarily tie myself to any one instrument. For example, the piano. I wish that I had fallen in love with the piano sooner as I fell in love with the violin. You know, I think that I felt like I had to be in a committed relationship with the violin, and I didn't want to cheat with the piano. But now that I'm have a slightly different perspective, I think I would have explored the piano, explored the viola sooner, and also aspects. I would have gotten more into music theory sooner. I would have started writing music sooner. You know, as many different ways of expressing the musical spirit, I would have explored sooner. That would be my answer.
Great. Yeah, I agree. I love playing second violin, especially in Beethoven, Mozart symphonies, and Haydn symphonies. And I feel like that's where the real magic happens, you know?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, and in quartets, obviously, too. And Derek and I used to play quartets together a lot.
That's right.
At Aspen, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of the performers have questions for Mr. Reeves? No? Okay. Well, I just want to thank you again, and this has been wonderful. Oh, Nicolette, do you have a question?
What would you? This might be a bit of a weird question, but what would you tell your high school self?
I would tell my high school self to practice more scales for longer periods of time. I would tell my high school self to not balk at Kreutzer, because I was kind of I felt like I felt like I was too good for Kreutzer. And then I got older, and I was like, oh no, I wasn't too good for Kreutzer. So I would tell my high school self to practice more scales, specifically the acceleration method with different rhythms and different bowings is absolutely key. Different rhythms and different bowings, a la Galamian. And thirds, sixths, octaves, and then for the and if you feel like torturing yourself, fingered octaves and tenths, but at a minimum, thirds, sixths, and octaves, and fourths. Fourths are really good. Practice fourths and drone scales as well.
Agreed again. 100%. Thank you so much. This has been a lovely evening, and great to see you again, and great to hear everybody. And we'll hope to have you back again in person, hopefully next time.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you to Juliana, Justine, and Nicolette. It was great hearing all of you, and thank you for bravely volunteering for the class.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. And join us next month. We'll have another amazing masterclass. So every month. So thank you again, Derek, and the performers, and I will see you soon.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.